He's not exactly Prince Charming.
No.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's...
Andrew Burnap is not keeping quiet anymore, and it's about time. He's finally spilling the tea on what really happened with Snow White and how it absolutely wrecked him, his career, and his hopes of a big Hollywood break.
He is a person of the world, in a world that seems to be ever darkening, looking for a very solid reason for hope, but very secretly. I think he masks a lot of it in his humor, which I think we can all relate to.
Yeah.
In case you don't know Andrew Burnap, he's that actor you've probably seen somewhere but never really noticed, until now. Hailing from a small town in Rhode Island, this guy worked his tail off climbing up the acting ladder. After years of stage performances and struggling to make a name for himself, he finally got his big break. He landed the role of Jonathan, the love interest in Disney's Snow White.
I can't let the Queen's Guard find this place.
I'm coming with you.
No, it's too dangerous. You're the one they're looking for. I'll be back in 2 days. And together, we'll go to the Southern Kingdom and we'll find your father.
Sounds like a dream come true, right? Well, hold on, because the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. In an emotional interview with People, Andrew reflected on the day he got the role. I remember I auditioned for it. I put something on tape and sent it off, he recalls, of trying out for the coveted role. You train yourself to audition and then forget about it as quickly as possible. And then weeks later, I got an email saying, they'd like to see you again. I said, you've got to be kidding. And then this next time they said, you're going to go in for a chemistry read with Rachel Zegler. And then the minute I got the phone call that I got the job, I remember I was outside and I sat down on the ground and thought, wow, my life is really going to change from here. And it certainly has.
I was outside, and I got the call that I got the role, and I sat down on the gravel. I was about to play a round of disc golf with my little brother.
Aww.
And I sat down and I just thought, wow, my life is really going to change after this, and it has.
Yeah.
After all that hard work, Andrew thought he was about to make it big. Then boom, the whole thing exploded in his face. Rachel Zegler, his co-star, turned out to be a PR disaster, and Snow White quickly became one of the most hated films on the planet.
Disney's live-action remake of Snow White is officially one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history.
Critics tore it apart, and Rachel didn't exactly help. Instead of acting like a Disney princess, she came off as a loudmouth who was more interested in making the film about her than being part of a team. And while the press was blasting Rachel, poor Andrew was just caught in the middle, trying to avoid the paparazzi like they were the plague.
Hello, Disney. You're going to have to redo your film again because this woman is a pig and you fired Gina Carano for far less than this nonsense.
Now here's the juicy part. Rachel's behavior didn't just ruin the movie's public image, it also reportedly messed with the behind-the-scenes dynamics. You remember that Instagram post from N-Wokeness that showed some of Rachel's stories? It wasn't exactly a Disney princess vibe, more like, I'm a bit too woke for this. Yeah, not the fairy tale Disney had in mind when they cast her. And let's just say Andrew's character, Jonathan, wasn't exactly a priority in Rachel's eyes. Reports surfaced that Rachel tried to control how the movie was made. She allegedly had issues with how scenes were shot, especially when it came to Snow White being portrayed as a dominant character, but things got even messier when Rachel opened her mouth during the press tour. She actually said that all of Andrew's scenes could be cut. She literally said, who knows, about his role. Can you imagine? The audacity.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things.
So true,
it's an inner journey that she goes on to find her true self, and she meets a lot of people along the way that make the journey really incredible.
We're not talking about creative differences here. This is a full-on power struggle. Andrew was a late addition to the film, brought in to add depth to the story. He was supposed to be a key part of this Snow White reboot. But as time went on, something felt off. At first, it was subtle. He wasn't doing joint interviews with Rachel, wasn't walking the red carpet with her, and there were zero cute behind-the-scenes moments to show they were even on speaking terms. Fans started noticing, and the whispers started, why is Andrew being kept in the shadows? Well, it turns out it wasn't just a coincidence. Sources close to the production started revealing some shady stuff about Rachel. Allegedly, she made comments about trimming Andrew's screen time to make Snow White more focused on her. The final blow? She joked about making the film all about Snow White and ditching anything that didn't serve her storyline. In a TV interview, she even referred to Andrew's character as a weird stalker and added that the movie wasn't about romance.
There's a big focus on her love story, with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird, 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 weird.
And here's the real kicker. The movie's promotional campaign was falling apart. Andrew's role, which was supposed to be a huge breakout moment, was slowly but surely shrinking before the film even hit theaters. He wasn't in any of the promo material, and the movie was slowly turning into Rachel's one-woman show. It was like Andrew was ghosted by Disney and by Rachel herself. Then, as if the universe wasn't already rubbing salt in his wounds, the box office numbers came in. The second weekend decline was brutal, and Andrew's frustration turned to full-blown resentment.
As of this week, the lowest rated film on IMDb is Snow White, that has a 1.5 out of 10 on the IMDb scoreboard. So
People close to him said he was fuming because he had given everything to this movie, only to watch it flop. Rumors flew that he blamed Rachel for the failure of the film. One source close to Andrew said, Rachel was so fixated on the Snow White aspect that she completely disregarded the ensemble. And when Andrew saw how his scenes were edited out, his frustration reached a boiling point. His work was literally erased. And it didn't stop there. Sources claimed that Andrew wasn't the only one feeling sidelined. A lot of the other cast members were reportedly uncomfortable with Rachel's political statements, which made it very difficult to work with her.
Minutes later, followed it up with, and never forget, free Palestine. This is just like a few months after 10/7. It was like, it hadn't even been a year. And they were like, my God, what?
And isn't
all
her
hell broke
co-star
loose.
Jewish?
Yes, Gal Gadot, whatever.
Gadot.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
But for Andrew, it was especially hard. His role was supposed to be significant, but here he was, watching his character fade into the background. Then came the final gut punch. Word spread that Disney had shelved any plans for a sequel. No Snow White 2, no chance to redeem the film. And insiders said that Jonathan, Andrew's character, might be written out completely, just like that. His entire contribution gone. By the time all of this went public, Andrew had already made up his mind. He wasn't going to stay in this toxic mess. He started distancing himself from the project, quietly slipping out of the limelight. Sure, he didn't come out and publicly drag Rachel through the mud, but it was clear his frustration was real. He made his exit from the promotional materials, and his social media was filled with cryptic posts about learning from hard experiences and moving on. It wasn't hard to see what he was saying. He had been done dirty. Andrew Burnap thought this was his big break, but his Hollywood dream got stomped on by a co-star who was more interested in making herself the center of attention. The Snow White disaster left Andrew burned, sidelined, and completely erased from the movie's narrative. But if there's one thing we've learned from this whole mess, it's that in Hollywood, sometimes the fairy tale doesn't end with a happily ever after. Do you think what happened with Andrew was wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.